it's not the summer vibes that I wanted for this video, but hopefully the books will bring summery feeling to us. At the moment I have so many books on my TBR that I've just been desperate to get to, and I think what I'm going to do is intersperse those with some of these summery books that I'm going to show today. So when I do reading wrap-ups or like what I've read recently videos, you'll probably see a mixture of these books and then other books that I've bought recently and just been desperate to read, but they're not particularly summery, if that makes any sense. But these ones, I've tried to pick books that are set in summer and just give the warm summer vibes, and I love seasonal reading, so I hope there's some that intrigue you too. Let me know if you've read any of them, but let's kick off. So first is this one. Look at this cover, it's so beautiful. It's got like little gold bits on it. I bought this book in London, I think. It was a long time ago. Me and my mum bought the same one, and I'm ashamed to say we were going to buddy read it, but she read it straight away, and then it kind of put me off because I was like, oh man. And then I never got round to reading it. But when it was released, it got like quite a bit of hype. It is by Shelley Reid. Go as a river. Go as a river. And we have a character called, I think she's called Victoria. Victoria Nash. Yeah. Oh look. Look at the beautiful inside. So pretty. And Victoria Nash works on a peach farm. She's the only woman working on this peach farm. In a like male family. And when she's out, she comes across this stranger. He's like a Native American drifter, I think. And he asks her the way. And it's one of those that, you know, a chance meeting changes her life forever. And their relationship causes a lot of struggles, a lot of problems. I think this book addresses racism and problems with that in the small town. It says it's a mesmerising story of split-second choices and courageous acts that propel Victoria away from the only home she's ever known. So I guess it's like whether you stay in your comfort zone or whether you pick the path that your heart is telling you. But the peach farm sounds very sweet. Yeah, it honestly feels like this book's been a long time coming. I'm really, really ready to read it. I'm kind of mad that I didn't when I first got it. But yeah, this is also signed by Shelley Reid. I was lucky enough to find a nice copy when I was in Waterstones in London. So feel lucky to have it. Sad that I've not read it yet. Next, weirdly enough, is also one that I got on that trip to London a little while back, and it's one I've been saving for the summer. And another beautiful cover from As Long as the Lemon she works in the hospitals, she volunteers, and obviously faces a lot of fear in the sort of war-stricken place where she lives. And it sounds really interesting because she sort of manifests this character called Quaff, I think he's called. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Khawf. Quaff. And he's like a sort of, to her, a physical manifestation of her fear. And he's like a creature that sort of follows her around in her mind. And he's sort of telling her to leave because she's so scared. But she's also torn because this is her home. This is her country. But I think she also has added pressure of her sister being pregnant, so she wants to get out of the country to obviously help her sister. So I think it's going to be an interesting one. But it just sort of felt summery in the sense that it's lemon trees in a warmer climate. I like the lemons around the chapter numbers. That's super cool. There's a quote on the back that's really nice. That lemon tree's been here forever, Kennan says. I used to climb it all the time when I was younger. He sighs, shaking away the memories, and looks at me. There's still beauty in Salama, still life and strength in Syria. I'm going through this little phase where I feel like I have this pull to read books that are going to teach me something. And it doesn't have to be, historical fiction. It doesn't have to be teaching me something about history, but teaching me about things I've not experienced. Because I think one of the amazing things about books is that it can feel so authentic, especially if the writer has experienced things. It can be a real true life account. And this was written by Zulfa Katwa. And she's a Canadian writer but with Syrian roots. And she was a pharmacist, trilingual pharmacist, currently pursuing a master's in drug science. So from someone with Syrian roots, I feel like might be able to teach me well. these characters through nature and trees, or something like that. But the trees are very poignant. But again, it's one of those things where I feel like I'll learn things from this book. I feel like I'll learn perspectives that I've never experienced and never read about. About the two teenagers living in Cyprus. It's got a quote by David Mitchell. A wise novel of love and grief, roots and branches, displacement and home, faith and belief. The island of missing trees is balm for our bruised times. Wow. The island of missing trees is balm for our bruised times. What a beautiful book. This next one is one that my mum got me, I think. So this is by one of her favourite authors. This is by Joanne Harris and it's Coastliners. If I'm remembering rightly, I think my mum got me this from a charity shop, and she bought it me because this is one of her favourites. But with it being quite a beachy theme, I think it will be perfect to try in the summer so I can tell her I've read it. I'm not sure about Joanne Harris. I read or tried to read one of hers before. I think it was Chocolat, because I really liked the film, but I wasn't quite getting into it for some reason. But my mum loves it, so I'm happy to give it a go. I'm going to read the back because I don't know tons about it, with it being one my mum got me. On the tiny Breton island of Le Devlin, life has remained almost unchanged for over 100 years. For generations, two rival communities, the wealthy La Houstinière and the impoverished village of Les Salantes, have fought for control of the island's only beach. Okay, so we've got two different communities fighting for control of the beach. When Mado, a spirited local girl, returns to Les Salantes after a 10-year absence, she finds her home threatened, both by the tides and the local entrepreneurs. Worse, the community is suffering from an incurable loss of hope. Mado is not easily discouraged. Dogged by prejudice from the superstitious villagers, she is forced to enlist help with Flynn, an attractive drifter. Now we've got another drifter. But Mado's attempts to transform the dying community have unforeseen consequences. As Les Salantes returns slowly to life, so do past tragedies, and including the terrible secret that still haunts Mado's father. And is Flynn really who he says he is? Who's Flynn? Oh, he's the attractive drifter, right? You know, these books that I'm reading out, they all have a bit of a theme going, and I think it might be very telling of the types of trope that I'm after at the moment. Different communities, different perspectives, splits of people and why, and much about where I live online, but yeah, I got this from a very cute shop. It's one of those where like I really wanted to buy something, so I was desperately like scouring the shelves, like I really hope there's something that is on my TBR. And then when I saw this, I was already wanting to get this, not ring over it on Amazon, but it's much nicer in my mind to buy from a bookshop where you can. I know it's hard. This one is a very summery read, and also one that I've been so looking forward to reading, and also one that my mother recommended. So I think I will love this because I've read The Kite Runner by the same author, Carla Dazzini. So I think 1,000 Splendid Suns. 1,000 Splendid Suns is meant to be just as good, and The Kite Runner was excellent. So it's set in Kabul. We've got Miriam, who is sent to live with this very troubled man who is 30 years her senior, and she's sent off to marry him to Kabul, to marry this man. And she's very miserable. But then a number of years later, I think it's about 10-15 years later, about 2 decades later, there is a young girl called Layla who is sent to live with them because her family is going through troubled times where she lives. So yeah, she's sent to their somewhat unhappy household, and Mariam and Layla form this really special bond between them, and sort of help each other navigate through the struggles of such unrest in Kabul. And following this, the Taliban begins their rule over Kabul, and I think it really tests their strength and their relationship. But I really enjoy, I think I've mentioned before, strong female relationships in books, and the sort of female camaraderie that you get in sort of troubled times where women pull through and protect each other. So I don't know really what to expect out of this book, in a sense, but I know that the writing is at least going to be pretty amazing. If it's anything like The Kite Runner. That book still sticks with me though. Like it was years ago that I read it, really years ago, but it still sticks with me, and like some of it, like it really hurts. Some of the stuff that happens in that book is just really hard to take. But I think it's good to challenge yourself with things like that, especially when there are people who experience that kind of hardship in the world. Next is a beautiful summery graphic novel, which is called The Moth Keeper in the dark. The artwork's very pretty. It's really like warm. And the character that we follow is called Anya, and she is a protector of the night moon, the night flower I'm talking about. And she therefore has to live in the dark because she has to protect the night flower. But she's always wondered what it's like to live in the day and live in the light. And I think one day she tries it, and then a lot of trouble breaks out. But I love the idea of like a night flower and these little communities that protect them. It says, being the moth keeper is a great honour. Being the moth keeper is a great responsibility, but is it worth the cost? My friend's read this book and she said it's very, very lovely. She said it was very low stakes. To me it sounds like not that low stakes from what I've just read, but I think she means like easy reading and you know things are going to turn out good. I am expecting good things from this book. I'm following along the same path because we have another graphic novel, The Lord of the Flies. So this is a graphic novel based on the classic, and I've never read the classic book, Lord of the Flies. Beautiful. Just beautiful. I think I did show this fairly recently in a book haul, but now is going to be the time to read it because it's set on an island, and that just feels like summer vibes to me. So if you don't know the story of Lord of the Flies, then it's basically about a group of boys, schoolboys, and their plane goes down and they are marooned on this island. this is fast becoming my safe space. This is Brambly Hedge. It's a very, very old kids book, but when you're reading it, it does not feel like a kids book. It is suitable for all ages and anyone who just wants to be immersed in a wholesome, honest, beautiful little community of minds. But what's so lovely about it is that it is seasonal. So I recently read the spring story in springtime, and then they have the summer story too, which I haven't read yet. But just look at the artwork. Look at it. This little mouse is called Wilfred, and in this picture it's his birthday and he's opening his presents. And they all live in the trees and the hedges. And sometimes you get cross sections of the house. And it's just such sweet little stories with sweet morals and lovely characters. And one thing I also love about this book and the writing is the description of food and drink. So they'll drink like blackberry tea or like acorn tea, and make little steamed puddings and buttered toast by the fire. And it's just so like, oh, it's just